The brilliant colors of fall have arrived. Hi there, thanks for joining us for Plain English, lesson number 305. I'm Jeff. JR is behind the controls, the producer, and the full lesson can be found at plainenglish.com/305. Coming up today, the leaves are turning colors in North America, and this is prime time for foliage tourism. I'll explain what that is and why it's such a big deal in Canada and parts of the US. In the second half of today's audio lesson, we'll talk about the phrasal verb roll around. See if you can guess what that means when you hear it. With only brief exceptions, I have always lived in the north of the United States. I grew up in the state of Connecticut and have lived in either the Northeast or the Upper Midwest for most of my life. So when late September rolls around, I'm ready for trees to burst into spectacular colors: orange, red, yellow, brown, even purple sometimes. But it occurs to me that we have many listeners in tropical climates or parts of the world where the change in colors is more muted or perhaps doesn't even happen at all. JR grew up in the Mexican state of Veracruz, and he tells me that some trees, not all, but some, would just turn yellow and then brown, but that others would stay green all year. That's in Veracruz. He said he knows it's fall here in Chicago when all the trees start to turn bright colors. So I thought we would talk about something called fall foliage. Fall foliage is the time in Canada and northern parts of the US that experience the bursts of color on the leaves of the trees as the weather gets cool. It's a big driver of tourism and a nice benefit to living in this part of the world. Start with what it is. When the nighttime temperatures get cooler, the autumn leaves start to transition from green to other colors. When the colors are at their most brilliant, it's called peak foliage. In the northern regions, this happens earlier. Farther south, it happens later. For example, in northern Quebec and Ontario, the leaves start to turn in early September and hit peak foliage around late September. Montreal and far northern reaches of the US will have their peak foliage in early to mid-October. The Smoky Mountains in the southeast will get fall colors only at high elevations, and that happens in late October and early November. Farther south, trees do sometimes change color, but not nearly like they do in the north. The very best places are the Northeast and the Upper Midwest. The colors are so bright and varied that many locations depend on foliage tourism. People from the South, or just from cities, will travel to the woods, hike, and go for scenic drives just to get the great views of the trees changing color. This is popular in the Canadian provinces of Quebec and Ontario, and Northern American states like Vermont, New Hampshire, Wisconsin, and Michigan. There's a term for people who go looking for the most beautiful time of year to see fall foliage. They are leaf peepers. Leaf peepers. There was a funny episode of Family Guy where annoying New York tourists bother the innocent residents of Quahog, seeking out the best views of the foliage. There are even websites dedicated to helping leaf peepers determine the very best week to see the fall foliage at their destination. Trees do change color in many parts of the world, but we are lucky here where the foliage really turns. If you go on a hike up a mountain or even just on a hill and look down at the trees below, it's like looking at a multicolored quilt of leaves, all in their bright, varied colors. You see every shade in between bright red and bright yellow. Some years are better than others, though. The ideal conditions for the brightest leaves are when the days are warm, but the nights are cool, but not too cool. If we get a frost, if it's below freezing too early in the year, the foliage won't be as brilliant. Trees in northern Europe change too, but not in the same way. In North America, we have 800 species of leafy trees, including 70 kinds of oak trees. In Europe, they have far less diversity in these kinds of trees. Here's an interesting fact I learned. The yellow and orange colors are actually there all summer long, but they're covered up by the green, the chlorophyll. This is what helps the tree derive energy from the sun. When the weather starts to get cooler, the stems of the leaves harden, blocking the flow of water to the leaf. The chlorophyll eventually disappears, leaving the orange and yellow pigments visible. The red leaves are a different story. Maple trees produce the red pigment during the autumn. I've mentioned that this is popular in eastern Canada and the northern and eastern parts of the US. It's also popular in Japan. They even have a term for leaf peeping. It's called, and forgive the pronunciation, momijigari, which I'm told is a combination of red leaves and hunting. That makes sense. Foliage tourism is also popular in southern Argentina and parts of Australia and New Zealand, though of course that would be in April and May. The relevant Family Guy episode is Season 3, Episode 7, if you want to look for it, though of course, as with all Family Guy episodes, be forewarned that there are adult themes in the show. The episode is called Lethal Weapons. Hey, just a quick reminder that we publish the full English transcript of every lesson on our website. It's a great free benefit. If you have a little trouble picking up every word as you listen, you might benefit from reading the transcript while you listen, or just check the transcript after you listen to make sure you picked up all the words. You can get to the transcript with the lesson number. This is lesson 305, so you just go to plainenglish.com/305, and you can see the transcripts of the main lesson and the expression. Today's expression is a phrasal verb, and it's a funny one. It's roll around, and I'm going to explain just one meaning today. In this sense, roll around is not what your dog does on the living room floor. Instead, Roll around can be used with something that happens at the same interval all the time. That just means you can easily predict when it will happen. Do you remember how you heard it earlier? I said that when late September rolls around, I start to get ready for the colors of the leaves to change. This is something that happens every year around the same time, late September and early October. So when I want to say when it's late September again, I can also say when late September rolls around. They mean the same thing. So let's try it with a few other times of the year. When the winter holidays roll around, it's time to pack up the car and visit family and friends. That happens every winter. We know when it happens, and it happens at the same time every year. When August rolls around in Europe, many Northern Europeans go for their holidays in southern climates like Spain, Italy, and Portugal. Same time every year. Good luck getting anyone in Europe on the phone in August, because when August rolls around, you have to assume that your colleagues in Europe will be out of the office. These examples have been seasons, times of the year, late September, winter holidays, August. They are on the calendar and they happen once a year. And this is a very common way of using roll around when talking about time. But you do not have to use it with things that happen just once a year. You can also use it with things that happen, say, once a week. If you're a parent, you might find that your weekends are full of activities with your kids. By the time Monday morning rolls around, you're exhausted from the weekend activities. For me, though, when Monday morning rolls around, I'm fully rested since I take it easy on Sundays. If you typically have an intense work week, you might say, by the time Friday afternoon rolls around, my brain is fried. I can't think anymore. Again, this is something regular. Every week has a Monday morning. Every week has a Friday afternoon. The accounting department at your employer might have a monthly schedule. They might close the books every month. That means they have to produce financial reports once a month. Now, usually, in the first 5 to 10 days of the month, they're working on producing all the financial reports from the previous month. So when the first of the month rolls around, they start to get really busy. Again, it's regular and happens every month. When the first of the month rolls around, the accounting department might get very busy. I typically write and record 2 lessons at a time. I write them during a weekend, record them during the week, and they are published the following week. I usually try to record the video lessons and audio lessons on a Monday or Tuesday. Now this week, Friday rolled around and I still had only recorded 1 of next week's lessons. I just had a crazy week at work and I couldn't fit it in. Luckily, I have a very understanding producer who can edit the audio even if I fall behind on my schedule. Now, next week, I hope to have them all recorded by the time Wednesday rolls around. Today's song of the week is Family by Drew Holcomb and the Neighbors. It's a fun song, but I especially like the music video. It's all about normal life. So often in songs and media, you see a glorified, unrealistic version of life. But this song and the video is the opposite. The video looks like a collection of home videos shot on a cell phone. In fact, that's probably what it is. The song celebrates normal moments in life, playing in the backyard, going on vacation, and the video features a decidedly non-professional dancer on a white background. It's a fun video and a nice song, so thank you, JR, for that one. Family by Drew Holcomb and the Neighbors is the song of the week. And you can play JR's Song of the Week from your dashboard at plainenglish.com. All members have a dashboard, including the free members. You can also find it on Spotify by searching directly for Plain English Playlist. And that is all. Congratulations on making it to the end of yet another Plain English lesson. I should say making it to the end of the audio portion because the fun continues on the website, the video lesson, and the exercises if you're a Plus member. But for the moment, you've finished the audio portion of the lesson. Now, if you're not yet a member of Plain English Plus, I would invite you to check it out at plainenglish.com/plus, Plus. Lots of great stuff included in the Plus membership, including the fast version of this lesson. I'm about to record the fast version now. Hopefully, I'll get that Japanese name pronounced a little bit better on the first take this time. Anyway, Plus memberships also include pronunciation exercises, listening exercises, quizzes, video walkthroughs, lots of good stuff. So check that all out at plainenglish.com/plus, Plus.